Hey everyone there, this is Andrew with WealthyFantasyFootball.com, my website. We'll go ahead and get into how we can get the best possible DraftKings lineup this week in Week 13. So we'll try to get something, a lineup there that is not necessarily this week as a focus on the top prize, but as we look at these here in this play action, let's look at the prize and potential winnings here. And this is, of course, for Sunday. I believe 13 games. And looking at that there, so we can take a lot into consideration here. Of course, there's a lot of multiple lineups and interesting plays we can do. But let's look at the contest details here real quick. As we can see, the payout structures first 100,000 down to. So our goal here would be at least to get the winnings, or $2 profit would be 129,200 place. As we can see here, this currently has, what's going to go up to probably 495K. So we got to get, let's say, that's about the top 25%, right? So we don't want to take too much risk. We're looking for stud players. And so the question may come up, how do I begin to choose stud players? Well, I'm going to provide an easy, simple solution and answer as I get into that. But first I want to show you something from my website. In consideration of this week's slate of games in the NFL. So I'm just going to scroll down to any week of which I had done this. For example, here, this was week number 11, 2 weeks ago. So I outlined here some of the most consistent plays. For example, we had Tom Brady. I'm trying to remember what happened offhand that week. Kareem Hunt obviously did not do good. His value has been going down. He has had 7 straight games without a touchdown or something like that. But as I should have seen, and it was indicated here by the numbers, the coefficient variation, so the variable concerning how consistent this is. Now, this number here basically showing a consistency was lower. Let's say down here with even, Julio Jones. As a comparison, all these running backs here, James White is another guy whose value went down. He lost, obviously, which you have to look out for, basically lost a depth chart. He's like the third back in the backfield right now. So, but if you look at Julio Jones, we can see he's been consistent all year, and this is a very good number. The best number I've seen of which maybe is 0.25. So the lower, the more consistent you are. So these are some examples of the numbers that you could even calculate yourself. All you'd have to do is take the average fantasy points per game and then put in what is here. I'll just show you how to go by the metrics of the actual numbers real quick. It's called the standard deviation calculator, that is. Whoops. Calculator. And of course, this is all talked about in previous articles on my site, but this basically shows that once you punch in these numbers, let's say these were actual fantasy numbers for a moment here, 10, 2, 38, 23, 38, 23, and 21 for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Let's see what will come up as an example in their fantasy points scored. So what comes up here is a standard deviation of 13, and that shows that there's some upside, obviously, because let's say they had a 38-point game. Obviously, they have a lot of upside, as proven, and they did that twice here, 38 points. So explaining that best I can here, That just goes to show that that particular number is this number, the standard deviation. So, although Julio Jones, this is where the trick is when trying to calculate the metrics on this. 4.78 is not a high upside number compared to, like, let's say, a number of 11, which Kareem Hunt had opted or maxed out his optimization in week 1. So who really knows, right? But all we can do is go by the numbers of what's proven in the metrics right here. So again, the standard deviations just show the upside they have achieved so far this year. And there's enough data to go by here in week 13 that we have some numbers to roll with. Now, that's a lot of calculation to try to do that for every player in the league. So what this program here, Draft Dashboard, has done has made it more simple, simplified the process for us. Now, all these low-risk proven players does not necessarily mean that you're going to get best. It doesn't mean these are you just stick in low. Oh, I'm going to go Hopkins, Cousins, Devontae Adams, Anderson, my third receiver, McCoy, and hide at running back. No, I'm not going to do that. And the reason is because I need to keep the upside, the value of what I'm entering in here, entering into these DraftKings lineup. I'm going to try to start out at least with picking some of these stud players, but I'm not going to stay with all these players that the optimizer or the algorithm is actually suggesting. I'm actually going to pick and choose and start off with a stack. That's where I'm going to start. And so there are a number of plays here you could look at. Now, Kirk Cousins, he's not playing at home. We're going to try to consider as many factors as we can, but this spreadsheet, if you will, is outlining all these different targets, such as the right here, receiving targets per game, rushing attempts per game. Obviously, for a quarterback, it works out a bit differently. But we have right here, for our reference, fantasy points per game on DraftKings specifically. This is lined exactly with the price as well. So everything is lined up and shown here that these algorithms show a 100% top rating for this quarterback, this wide receiver, and so on. As you can see, the numbers drop down the farther down the list we go. And then it gets slim pickings when you go down here, and it's no longer green and it's in yellow. So it is some players that, obviously a lot of players are not included on this list, but they're not consistent players. What we're looking for to build out and construct a roster that doesn't have too many high variables being off, even though, so they're considered basically sleepers or high-risk players. So, and I know the mistake that I had made last week was I put a couple high-risk players in a tournament like this, in which I paid $7.50, and that was the tournament at the $200,000 tournament last Sunday, and I lost because I had inserted, excuse me, T.Y. Hilton, who has high upside, but he didn't do anything. And I entered another player, I'm trying to remember who, that I can't recall right now, and it was too high of a risk. So even two players that are too high of a risk in this lineup is maybe too much. Actually, I'll just go ahead and confirm it. I'll look it up on my phone. So Marcus Mariota was obviously too low a scoring, even though he didn't seem like that much of a risk at the time. As well as Demaryius Thomas, he did not play up to his potential, and it was usual, and as he's even considered here a stud player still this year. I mean, this week, I saw him here somewhere, I thought. Yes, he's right here. He's still considered a consistent value. However, in consideration of what the quarterback situation being what it is, you can go away from that. You don't have to, like I said, choose these players to go with. And so, but those were the results of my last week's play, with Mariota holding me back, Hilton holding me back, and Demaryius Thomas, a consistent player, holding me back from what potentially would have been winnings last week, okay? So, now this will happen, of course, but you want to give yourself the best metric, the best chance of being able to win and go into positive value in one of these plays. So let's go ahead now and get started with our stack here. So as I'm looking through, I'm just looking for a good combination, right? I have to get a quarterback. I don't like Cousins because of the fact that I can't rely on any of those receivers. So I'm looking at someone else, such as Big Ben. But, again, is there a receiver that I can also rely on when it comes to this? You notice, Antonio Brown is not on this list. He is not a consistent value play. He is not going to put up the numbers that he did last week, so don't put him in your lineup. Just change up your strategy. Even though Brown, along with Gronk and Julio Jones, the best players in the NFL, did well last week, and Bell, don't roll with them again this week. Consider the best strategy options that you can consider with your stack for this week, okay? So, again, I'm looking for a quality stack here. Now, if I can trust the Chiefs, which I don't, I would insert them. I don't really like them against the Jets defense, playing away from home. So, what else can we come up with? As you can see, there's obviously not a lot of options when it comes to that. So we're going to end up taking more of a chance than we want to, right? Because there's not a lot considered a lot of. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pay up for some of these guys that are not going to bring me the results that I'm looking for, even though Blaine Gabbert's an option right now against the Rams. I'm going to go instead for this position to optimize according to the quarterback position and see what I get instead. And then I can just look at what do I have the past few games that this quarterback has done. All right? So let's get that in order. So we've got the Rams playing the Cardinals, right? We think about Patrick Peterson is a #1 cornerback, right? And to be matched up against Sammy Watkins is not a good idea. So, but is there anyone else we can look at stacking Jared Goff with? Well, let's take a look. Because to me, he's a quality option right now. As well as Phillip Rivers, maybe versus the Chargers. So let's keep those two guys in mind as we go over to the wide receivers. Rivers and Goff. And these are, we want to place these in order as well. There's Cooper Kupp, right? Doesn't score less than 8 points a game on DraftKings. His ceiling, his floor is high. So I just found a quality safe couple guys inserted in there. Okay, let's go with it. I'm not saying to do the same thing exact, copy or anything like that, but just think about the principles and the strategies here. Okay. And cut. Now, these are low prices. But we don't need, as we've seen last week, the top winners did not need to pay a lot for quarterback. So we're not worried about that. All right. So, however, they're not considered the studs with the upside, which is part of a requirement to be on this stud list here. So let's go back to it. We need to pick, why don't we get a stud running back, right? That we can use. We know who the most expensive one is, obviously Bell. Let's think about his matchup. He's playing Cincinnati. He's away. It's not the most favorable. Who else we got that's looking even better ranked than him? Leonard Fournette. You got some injury concerns. Got some things going on there. We can stay away. He's a little bit cold, as the system indicates. Carlos Hyde. LaShawn McCoy. Well, I'll tell you, I'm putting Hyde in there because his floor is high at 8.7, higher than McCoy's 2.5. As for the ceiling, maybe not as high, of course, but we're looking to eliminate risk. He's playing New England. Hyde is playing away in Soldier Field. Oh boy. Maybe we don't want to pay up, even pay that much for this position. Let's look down. Here's our stud of the year, Todd Gurley. High floor, high ceiling. He's almost matchup-proof versus the Cardinals. So, I really can't go wrong. I mean, let's put him in. Second most expensive. Kamara's up there. Right? Kamara's up there. He was a stud last week that won big prizes for some people, okay? So, now we got Gurley. Now we need another stud, right? Russell Wilson's got a tough matchup. So does Frank Gore, which we don't really care about. Let's go back to the top. Do we want to look at DeAndre Hopkins? He's probable. He has a foot issue. Tennessee, man, they're good against the run. Not so much against the pass. 25th rank against the pass. This is a favorable matchup. It doesn't matter who his quarterback is, as he's shown the past few years in the NFL. It's another safe option. It's a slam dunk. Hopkins. And he's only the 5th most expensive. So, great deal. Robbie Anderson, so consistent, man. Unbelievable. And last week was his high game of the year, wasn't it? He's at home again. He's looking to potentially beat out that Kansas City secondary, who's struggled as now the 31st worst in the NFL. And so he's a strong consideration here, isn't he? Heck, if you wanted to, you could stack him with McCown, right? So let's see about Anderson. I wonder what his price is. Price is not bad. Okay. I'm going to skip over to defense and then finish this thing out. And the defense that I like always is the Jaguars playing at home against the Colts, but there's a couple other ones we'll consider, like the Chargers, obviously, against Cleveland, the worst team. And what was the other team I was thinking about? We've got the Raiders and Giants game on here. Wow. This is about to start up tonight. And I like the Raiders defense as a low option. And the price kind of reflects the mid-range option. So, just looking through the defenses. Well, let's see who the optimizer suggests. You're kind of stuck in a way sometimes, you know? It'll at least give you the best matchup against an offense-wise. You know, you can't really look at everything in that sense, but so Jaguars, Chargers. Rams, Bears, Titans. Oh, I was looking at this Washington. Actually, this is the game tonight. I apologize, right? Washington's probably not on here. Washington. Yeah, that was a defense that I liked this week, but they're playing Thursday night tonight, so we're not going to do that. But I just like this so much. I'm willing to. I mean, it may be highly owned just because of starting quarterback for the Giants now. What's his name? Geno Smith. So I like the performance that the Raiders, some of the players put up on defense. So we'll see what we get out of that, right? And you know what? I'm going to consider that my higher risk option. Everybody else is going to be solid on this particular slate of this contest. So I'm looking for other solid players who perform up to the value that they bring to the table. So back to the studs again. This is interesting. You might want to check the injury report regarding the Tampa Bay defense. I know they were hurt last week. You can check that here if you want, or of course on a number of apps out there like Browse Teams. What does this do? It can give you a printout if you want for the Vegas lineups and see how teams stack and match up against, scoring wise. Let's look at that game real quick. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers, 44.5 points. Bucks favored by 1 away. So, and their key injuries are including Vernon Hargreaves, defensive back, obviously, did not participate in practice, as indicated right here. So, I may change this, so just so you know, of course, who knows what will happen. So as a flex option, pretty nice. Devontae Adams. He's been good. So, and then we got a running back and a tight end left. We got 5,500 per position, right? So we're looking for some lower options. So here's where we just need to go to our optimizer to finish out our lineups, give ourselves the best chance or consistent chance of scoring in those positions. As we'll look at the price range here, consider some valuable options. Tight end. Running back, I can really kind of get away with a PPR high target running back, so we'll take a look at that. Okay, let's order this up in terms of price range, right? So let's say we can go up above 5,500. Obviously, we can go to around 6,000 and see what we get on DraftKings. So it drops quite a bit once you get down to Zach Ertz and Evan Ingram and these guys. Evan Ingram, I'm just going to cross off. I don't trust because of Geno Smith. But then the obvious answer here, or the best option, is Delaney Walker. Unless you want to go with Jimmy Graham. He's got an injury concern. He doesn't have a good matchup against Philly. Jared Cook, we don't really want to go that far, I don't think, down in price range, although we could. But you can't lose with Delaney Walker. His floor is at 12 points right now, as you can see. So there you go, like your next safe option. And now we're looking for our high volume receiving running back. Let's see who we can come up with here. Guys like Christian McCaffrey, I can think of off the top of my head. Buck Allen, and now Danny Woodhead. Guys are doing good like that. So we're going to look at receiving targets per game. Line them up. That'll complete our best DraftKings lineup for the week. Hope you've enjoyed this. Looking at that. Looks like it's not aligning correctly. Here we go. course, McCaffrey, Bell, too expensive. Hyde, we might be able to afford. Going back to him. Again, we at Chicago. Kamara, too expensive. We looked at him. It's just easy to break this down because there's only so many available options in this range of players. We got Melvin Gordon, who's how much price do we have left? Okay, so I screwed it up. I went too expensive somewhere because I don't have any salary left. So how can we break this down? We need a cheaper option somewhere, don't we? Well, let's go back to our stud list then. And I'm surprised myself that I didn't even get an expensive defense. So we want a value-based play that will be consistent. So here's what we can do here. I did this last week. Same thing, same concept. Just looking down at the lower price range I go to see if there's any guys that are all on green and forgoing. And so obviously we've already got Adams and Anderson in our lineup. Let's see who else we can look for to find that's cheaper. Obviously, we already looked at Hyde, and he's looking like a decent, play. And farther down I look and go, I'm not seeing anybody that's of much value. But we could look at Jarvis Landry if we wanted to. If you think, playing at home, he's got Jay Cutler back. Consideration. He's always been consistent and a high floor. So he's a pretty good option. 5,900. That we'll look at as well. So working with these players, we'll fit them in, right? Hyde and Landry. Let's see. We'll take out Hopkins, put in Landry. Save a lot of money. All right, and we got to take out. Unfortunately, we got to do this. Put in Hyde. I mean, it is what it is. You got your salary to work with here. Now 3,600 remaining, right? Because really, this is an expensive flex option. 6,500 is asking a lot for him, sort of, for that scenario. But Landry's questionable. Let's see. Was limited at Thursday's practice. All right. Should be good to go, though. All right. And back to our, let's see who's available in our running backs, of course. Wow. Charles Sims, he gets a touchdown every now and then. But I just thought of something that I'm going to change up here. I'm going to get rid of Adams, and I'm going to do a better option value play. Let's go with this guy who I saw in our list there, our optimizer, Westbrook, right? For a flex. He got 10 targets last week. He's being obviously targeted more. So he's not a bad flex play at 8 fantasy points per game. Surprisingly good. And now we've got 6,000 left for running back. Now, getting back to what we were originally trying to do, we just have an idea right here of who we have available. I don't like Miller. Tennessee has a good run defense away from home. Freeman hurt. Murray, I don't know what to think of him. He gets a touchdown every now and then. Dion Lewis, who may get enough touches. We'll take a look at that. Latavius Murray, McKinnon, and Burkhead. So we're looking at down in the, obviously, the 6,000 price range. We'll take it back over here to the optimizer. Running back. And since we're limited to obviously 6,000, we order them up in that price range and compare targets per game, rushes per game, touches, however you want to do it. Okay. 6,000, right? We've already got Hyde. So we got to drop down a bit. Lewis is averaging, I mean, these numbers are up now the past few games because he's getting, anywhere from 10, well, at least 10. It's ceiling, I mean, his floor is higher in recent weeks. He's been getting at least 15 points. Pretty good. Compared to, like, Murray, he's getting 12 to 22 points. Higher upside. Burkhead, I mean, I wouldn't go with Burkhead over Lewis because of obvious reasons. So he's getting over 10 touches a game now compared to, Burkhead's barely getting 10. Murray's getting like 12 to 13 touches a game. So we're talking about targets again here. As Lewis gets enough, obviously, touches and receptions, they'll add up pretty good as points. We got Duke Johnson versus the Chargers, Marshawn, and guys like that. So as far as paying and trying to get value out of these guys, we're going to have to go Lewis, all right, to complete the lineup. All right, so I'm going to enter it in. Of course, subject to change, so don't use this lineup as a warning because things change throughout the week and up to leading to the Sunday game. Well, thank you for watching, and congratulations. You have won your DraftKings lineup.